Williams, typical of Williams, is much more overtly programmatic. So if you have The Rose is Obsolete in front of you, follow along if you can. It's only printed, you could only have printed it off the web, or if you're at home, you could be looking at the web. I'm going to read the poem and then comment on it. I can't possibly, in the time we have, say in complete detail why I think it's so brilliant. Later, when you're trying to study, what is early modernism, I suggest you go to The Rose is Obsolete. The rose is obsolete, but each petal ends in an edge, a double facet cementing the grooved columns of air. The edge cuts without cutting, meets nothing, renews itself in metal or porcelain. Wither. It ends. But if it ends, the start is begun, so that to engage roses becomes a geometry. Already, Williams is working at the edge of the rose. He's trying to describe it in detail, and he gets to the edge, which is sharp. But he cannot end. He cannot reach the end of the rose. And all along, he's not just talking about the rose he's describing. He's talking about the history of the symbolism of the rose, which is obsolete. Make it new. No more roses. No dullness. No fuzziness. No valentines. No love. Don't say love. Say sharp rose. Metal rose. Get cut by love, not softened by love. And when you get to an end, it's going to start over. And roses do that, by the way. If you follow the rose petal by petal, you find that there is not an end to the rose. The rose is obsolete. No more roses. Make it new. New kind of poetry. But each petal ends in an edge. The double facet cemented the grooved columns of air. The edge cuts without cutting, meets nothing. What does it meet? Nothing. Renews itself in metal or porcelain. It ends. But if it ends, the start is begun. So that to engage roses becomes not a romanticism, becomes not a squishy sentiment. It becomes a geometry. It becomes a cubism. It becomes a set of shards of perceptions, sharper, neater, more cutting, figured in majolica. The broken plate glazed with a rose. One of those green bottles again. The broken plate glazed with a rose. Somewhere the sense makes copper roses, steel roses, anything but the old roses. Make it new. The rose carried weight of love, past tense. The rose carried weight of love, but love is at an end of roses. That's my favorite lines in all of 20th century poetry. The rose carried weight of love, but love is at an end of roses. Love is at an end. Dash Dickinson of roses. The dash allows you to stop. It allows you to see the double meaning, right? This is no kid pressed with his nose to the glass. This is the kid rubbing his nose. The rose carried weight of love, but love is at an end of roses. Somewhere at the end of the rose, which is never an end, is the rose, love. It is at the edge of the petal that love waits, but it never ends. It keeps renewing. Make it new. Let's try it again. Let's say it again. This is what Hemingway was doing. This is at his best. This is what Stevens was doing. Let's try the blackbird again. Let's try it again. Let's get it right. You can't get it right. So if you can't get it right, here it is. If you can't get it right, show what you do as you do it. Show the work. Show the process. If you can't figure out what love is, don't try. No more definitions. No more symbolisms. No more symbols. If the rose is obsolete, let's show how. Let's show why. Let's show the rose in the process of obsolescence. It is obsolescence. It is at the edge of the petal that love waits, crisp, worked to defeat, laboredness, fragile, plucked, moist, half-raised, cold, precise, touching. What? That what just sits out there. You're going to see in a minute the same kind of what in Portrait of a Lady. Can I describe a lady? No, you can't describe. You can't do it. You can't. There's no such thing as a portrait. A portrait that doesn't question itself. It doesn't ask, what are you doing? You can't do this. You can't describe. Words don't do this. Words don't work. And the same thing is happening here. That what sits out there naked. No question mark. Just what? Crisp, work to defeat, laboredness, fragile, plucked, moist, half-raised, cold, precise, touching. What? The place between the petal's edge and there's nothing there. It's a blank. There's no noun. And the next word is in a new stanza, and it's from. What? The place between the petal's edge and I think this is the first time in our course we've seen it, and it'll be a long time before we see it again. In contemporary poetry, we'll see it a lot. There's literally no word there. It is a blank. But it means something. You fill it in. The place between the petal's edge and the petal's edge, a line starts. That being of steel, infinitely fine, infinitely rigid, penetrates the Milky Way without contact, lifting from it, neither hanging nor pushing. The fragility of the flower, unbruised, penetrates space. The poem starts and stops, tries to get it right, goes way off the deep end at the end. That swirling of the rose of the sharpness becomes momentarily, symbolically, the Milky Way. He doesn't push it. He's not a symbolist. He doesn't push it. It penetrates the Milky Way without contact. Went right through it, lifting from it, neither hanging nor pushing. He's lost all the vocabulary of space and force. The fragility of the flower, unbruised, penetrates space. Poetry had gotten dull. So on Valentine's Day, give her a rose that will cut her. Give her the green glass, broken. Make it new. Say it in words. Say it in words.